We're going to go ahead and give these CBN stones a try on some Maxamet steel. This is the Manix 2 lightweight. As you can see, the blade has been patinaed. I stuck it in some apple cider vinegar that I heated up a little bit, dropped it in there for about 20 minutes, and then buffed it with oil to clean up any splotches and areas that didn't quite take. And the tip in particular gave me a hassle, but it all came out pretty good. I'm satisfied with how it looks. And I'm going to go ahead and sharpen the edge now. And we're going to use the CBN stones that Big Brown Bear sent to me. Unfortunately, my phone has lost the footage where I tested the edge before I started sharpening. And the entire section where I sharpened the right hand side of the knife. So I'm recording this a little after the fact. I just now found out editing the video down. So I apologize for that, but I did test the edge before I started sharpening, and I've got the results and all that. And then I tested again after the sharpening. And then about 2 or 3 minutes of me sharpening the knife on the 400 grit stone have been deleted as well. Wasn't much on that. It's just me commenting that the 400 grit stone has a lot more feedback than what Sean had said, and that it also cut much quicker than what I was told. So that's where we're going to pick up. So we're going to start on the 400, work to the 1500, and then strop and see where our edge is. I went ahead and used his silicon carbide Nagora stone already and lapped off the top of this. So that is not required at this point, but if this stone loads up as we go, I may have to do that again. Let me find where this edge is. Now he told me this stone didn't have a whole lot of feedback. Just from those few passes, I'd have to disagree. There's a lot of feedback. I apologize about that, my phone rang. So I've got most of the factory scratches out on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over. And I did rotate the stone so I get even wear, but also prevents me from having to clean the stone because I am getting some buildup. Oil area on a Spyderco is always a booger. Just like that, we've got a burr. I'm going to go ahead and do some alternating strokes, try to break some of it off. You know, he said the stone wasn't fast. He also said it didn't have a lot of feedback. I'm finding the exact opposites to be true. It seems to be pretty quick, and there's lots of feedback. Looks like I need a little more work in the tip. I'll spare you guys that though. Well, I've done about as much as I can for the tip. It looks like whoever sharpened it at the factory, as they were going across the belt, when they got to that tip, they really arced it out. So if you were looking at it on a sharpening stone, once they got to that tip, they really increased their angle right at the very end. So it looks like they just pulled off super quick. It's going to take a lot more grinding than I want to do right now to get that resolved. So that being said, we're just going to go ahead and move on to the 1500 grit. Now I've done nothing with this stone. I haven't ran a knife across it. I know nothing about this one. So this is going to be a fresh new experience for me. Rinse that slurry off. You don't want that CBN slurry. I'd imagine, as hard as it is slamming into your apex, it'd probably dull things up. Now this one I can tell doesn't have a lot of feedback. This feels very much like running your knife across a 5000 grit Shapton Pro. Very slick, very little audible or tactile feedback. And it's cleaning those scratches up nice. I'm pretty much done. Looks like these scratches are pretty much all gone. I'm gonna do a few more passes just to get that choil area cleaned up because it's a bitch. Now here's where I actually may need to clean the stone off. I'm getting a lot of buildup right here, and I really need to get into that choil area. So I don't need anything to slow me down. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean the load up real quick, Now his Nagara stone, all it is a silicon carbide stone. You need that because it's so hard to cut in a braid. That CBN emulsion, or that CBN that's inside the stone, I guess. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure, but that would be why I would reason that was a silicon carbide Nagara stone. If I'm wrong, and Sean, you see this, by all means correct me. Alright, I finally got those scratches out of that side. Now I gotta do this side. Spyderco really should adopt either sharpening choils or sharpening notches rather, or figure out a way to get their edge all the way to the back. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at so you understand. So right here in the base, you can see that ramp up where the choil meets the edge. And if you hold it in the right light, you can see that discoloration, you see? So that dark area right in the middle is where the factory scratches are still residing. All the light area is where I'm able to hit. So I've got to get down in there to get those scratches out. The problem is this ramp prevents you from doing that. So to overcome it, you gotta angle your knife, put pressure in certain areas. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of angling the knife like this and putting pressure down right there, and then going back and forth, trying to work my way into that little divot. I didn't do a good job with this choil on that 400 grit stone. In my defense though, the 400 grit scratches really blended in with the factory scratches, so I couldn't tell that area was being a problem. Alright, I'm going to leave it like it is. I haven't completely gotten all those scratches out, but I've got a good deal completed. I'm going to go ahead and clean the stone off one more time and do some final passes to clean up any burr, and we'll see where the edge is. I really got that side loaded up pretty good. This is fresh off the stone. May have a little burr left up here in the belly and tip area. I'll do just a few more light passes. Try to clean anything up that's left over. Wow. I say wow because when I first started running the knife across the strop, the edge caught and actually jerked. This stuff is actually polishing. The diamond emulsions I have don't seem to do that. They'll remove a burr no problem, but they don't polish very well. This stuff is polishing wonderfully. I should have showed you, and I meant to, I apologize. Should have showed you the scratch pattern after the 1500 grit. Trying to get down in that choil area. I'm beyond done at this point. Right now I'm just kind of making the bevel look pretty because this stuff actually polishes. Alright, we got the cookies wrapped up. Let's try this edge again. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. I'll bring you guys down, show you what this looks like. Hopefully this thing will focus. Of course, it's not wanting to. Here we are magnified. You can see that ramp at the base of the choil. I may just go ahead and put a sharpening notch down there. We'll see. See how this tip turned out. Well, you can see where they came off the belt grinder a little too high, but it's not horrible. I gotta say, I'm digging how much this diamond paste polishes. I mean, even in the magnified close-up, you can see it's shining bright. Let's check this edge out now that I've sharpened it. $184. $153. And 167. That is a 7. Yes. So averaging out the numbers, this is what we got. And I apologize, my paper did get wet. So the used factory edge was at 274. After my sharpening, it's at 168. I've said it before in other videos, I'll say it again. I don't hold these numbers in very high esteem. It'll give you a rough idea of how sharp a knife is, but truly the only way you're ever going to know is to experience it for yourself. To actually have it in hand and then to cut something. CBN Waterstones. What do I think about them? I think the 400 grit has excellent feedback, cuts very fast, leaves a nice, clean, consistent scratch pattern. The same can be said for the 1500 grit. It's a consistent scratch pattern. It's clean. The edge comes off really nice. I've got really no complaints as of yet. I would like the 1500 to have more feedback, but the 5000 grit Shapton Pro is among my favorite stones, and it has almost as much feedback as this, so that's not a big knock in my book. I'm used to that stone. I think it's excellent. I think this stone is just as excellent too. I will say this one is slower though. The speed at which the 400 cut is negated by the speed at which the 1500 cuts. You get a really quick burr developed on this one, and then things really slow down once you hit this one. Not a bad thing. I mean, you can take your time and really get the edge where you want it. As always with my videos, I'm trying to get through just as quick as I can, because watching a 1 hour video of someone sharpen isn't exactly the most thrilling entertainment. If I were a huge super steel guy, you know, if all my knives were in Maxamet 10V, S110V, I would have no problem trying to pick up a set of these. If I were on the other side of the fence, you know, most of my knives being S30V, S35VN, 154CM, these stones may not really benefit me. I'm kind of in between. I just started getting into Maxamet. I'm a big fan of this stuff. I really like this steel. So super steels are still fairly new to me. M390 being about the most wear resistant. Maybe LMAX, but I find LMAX really easy to sharpen. I've never had any problems dealing with it on my Shapton Pro stones. You know, take that for what it's worth. Now that I've tried these out, would I choose these over silicon carbide? That's a good question. I don't know. Probably due to pricing, I would choose the silicon carbide. As far as which one has a better edge, honestly, I don't know. I think they're about the same. When you come off the 2500 grit silicon carbide and then strop, the edge feels about as good and as clean as the 1500 grit coming off the diamond strop. I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison to really judge that, and I may do that on some 8CR13 or something, you know, just for giggles, to see which one I think is better, and then hell, we'll throw it on the edge tester just to see what it says. I am going to do a few more with these stones. I'm going to record sharpening that S110V as well as that 10V Spyderco, what is it, the K2. So those will be coming here in the next few days. If you guys have any questions or comments, as always, leave them below. I'll leave a link to Sean's channel again down in the description. At the end of this video, I will put up the results and the graph so you guys can look at it and compare. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.